Okay, we are playing Mega Man 3 today. So let's set the timer for 19 minutes. Start the game. We are recording. Let me sync up the audio. Get in a position here. Occulto. It's awesome. This is probably going to be one of my favorite top 3 beers. I can already tell. Okay, so the way I see it, I can start from either Snake Man or Top Man. I'm gonna go with Top Man because I like the music on the stage better. You know, Mega Man just has some of the best music there is in any retro video game. I mean, I don't know what it is about the series, but it's so epic. I love this song. I feel like I could rap to this. This is one of the games that I grew up with, Mega Man 3. This is one of the games I've had my entire life, pretty much, my entire time as a gamer. I've never gotten tired of it. It's good. I've always had a thing for third parters of trilogies. You know, I love Return of the Jedi. Unlike everybody else who thought that Empire Strikes Back was the best version, I just love how everything comes together in the third act. You know, that to me makes a story. When everything that's unfolded, that you presented to the audience, comes together and it's worth it. Because so many times, you know, stories tell an interesting question, but they fail to deliver on the answer. You know, that's the best metaphor I can really give for you. It's one of the reasons that I wanted to become an artist, because I wanted to put my own type of art out into the world, and I wanted to ask interesting questions, but at the same time, I need to pay more attention to the game. At the same time, I need to answer those interesting questions. You know, some of my favorite artists are better at asking the questions and answering it. You know, ICP comes to mind. They've always been good at asking questions and making you wonder what the answer is. But when it comes to answering those questions, they're not quite as talented in that aspect. You know, in the other aspect, they're incredibly talented, creating a whole mythology to their music and making you wonder what was next. What's the big question? What are they building towards? And the idea on paper was pretty epic, but the way they executed it, I think that's just when a lot of people lost interest in them. Because, you know, ICP always says that they're the most hated band in the world, and for the most part I disagreed with them about that. I don't think they're the most hated band in the world. That title probably goes to someone like Creed or Nickelback. But as far as being the most hated, nah. Maybe by the business they're the most hated, but not by the fans, not by the people, because, you know, I was a big ICP fan for many, many years. And anytime I'd tell somebody, I'd be like, hey, I gotta leave work early, I'm going to a concert. They'd be like, oh, who you going to see? And I'll be like, I'm going to see ICP. And they'd be like, oh man, I wish I was going, that's awesome. You know, 9 times out of 10, that was the reaction. People like, or they used to like ICP, you know, but nowadays, people just have seemed to have lost interest, because it's pretty obvious to anyone who's paying attention that ICP has completely fallen off. I mean, The issue could be that they're too focused on money or that they've lost their passion, because, go listen to music from the Riddle Box era, slightly before, slightly after, and tell me they weren't passionate about that. I need to be passionate about whipping this guy's ass. Okay, anyway, as I was saying, they just had more passion for their music back in the Riddle Box era, 20 years ago. By the way, it is a coincidence that my colors match the Riddle Box colors. That's not where the mystery of purple and green lies. It has nothing to do with ICP's Riddle Box album. But I do think that being such an epic color scheme, it certainly didn't hurt Riddle Box that the color scheme was purple and green. I think it could only have helped. Okay, so Top Man beats Shadow Man. As long as it works right. That's the thing about the top spin. It's fundamentally broken, and it sort of glitches out. And, that's one of the few major issues that the Mega Man series has. Of course, in the second game, the Metal Blade is too strong and too versatile. In this game, the top spin is broken. It works wonders when it works. The issue is that sometimes when you use it, it'll just automatically use all of its juice, like immediately, all of its power. So I'm confused. Is this guy Breakman or is this guy Proto Man? I always get the two confused. And if they're two different people, what's the difference between the two? Because during the game they call him Breakman, I believe, but during the end credits they call him Proto Man. Because throughout the whole game you're thinking that he's your enemy, but at the end of the game you find out that he's not your enemy. So I'm not quite sure why he keeps attacking Mega Man if he's not his enemy, but that's one of the great things about this game is it asks a question, as this goes back to what I was saying earlier. It asks a question and it answers it. It asks an interesting question and definitively answers it. Who is this guy that's attacking you? Is he your enemy? No, he's your friend. Then again, I don't know a whole lot about the Mega Man games after this, because to me, Mega Man kind of was over for Mega Man 3. I think the official canon should be that this is the last Mega Man. And maybe every Mega Man game after that was actually Proto Man, continuing Mega Man's legacy, because it works so much better as a trilogy. Mega Man 1 introduces the characters, introduces the premise, the conflict, and that showdown with Dr. Wily never comes. He's always finding ways to get out of fighting Mega Man. In the second game it was the alien Wizard of Oz scenario. In the third game it's a robot, and it's such a killer plot twist, especially if in the big grand scheme of things this is the final game and final battle. You finally get to fight Dr. Wily in that giant peacekeeping robot that he stole. Was it named Gamma, I think? Anyway, he steals Gamma and goes on a rampage and tries to kill Mega Man, and that's when the showdown finally happens. And you kick his ass with the Search Snake, of all items, the Search Snake. Oh my gosh, that's hard to say. So you kick his ass with the snake weapon, and then boom, it's over. He begs for forgiveness, and the whole place crumbles. And Dr. Wily is missing, presumed dead, and Mega Man just barely gets out of there with his life. And the soundtrack of this game, it has the tone of finality. Third, Act 3, Mega Man Act 3. It just works better that way. Why did the game series have to continue? I mean, at least let Proto Man... What am I doing? I think I'm gonna just die. I don't trust my ability to stay alive. Okay, so why didn't they just end the series after 3 and let Proto Man, Breakman carry on the tradition? I should have transformed already. Okay, so let's see if it works this time. Hallelujah, it worked. Unfortunately, you didn't get to see the glitch, so maybe we'll wait until my official review of Mega Man 3, and I promise you it's gonna be epic. Oh man, this review, this is one of them I'm looking forward to, because it's just a funny concept. You know how in AVGN, when James Rolfe did a Super Mario 3 saying he wanted to do a good game for once instead of a shitty game, and then he comes up with all this satanic exorcist hidden stuff in Super Mario 3? You know, it's just a curveball. And I don't want to compare what I do to what James does, because there's no comparison, but I'm hoping that my review of Mega Man 3 is regarded in the same category as the AVGN episode of Super Mario 3. That would be like the highest honor I could get. Okay, so I defeated Shadow Man. Next is Spark Man. Even after, what, 24, 25 years of playing this game, I still can't get the damn pattern down 100% to these jumps. Like, or is it might be the second time around. There's one particular jump at about that spot that I can't figure out how to get through it unscathed, you know, and without dying. I can get through it, I just always get hurt there. Oh god, this stage. I should have got the jet first. No, it's here. I can't figure out how to get through here unscathed. Well, I died that time. That's a rare thing. I don't usually die there. Oh man. I shouldn't have picked this level. I should have started with Snake Man. I always forget that that is the best character to start with. You know, the upfront difficulty is a little higher, but overall, in the grand scheme of things, it's easier. Like, drastically easier. Because Snake Man beats Gemini Man, Gemini Man beats Neo Man, and then it loops around. And I believe you get the Rush Jet with Needle Man. And the Rush Jet will definitely come in handy in this stage. That's how you do it! Oh my god! Where the hell did that come from? Don't tell me there's not a divine spirit out there. There's not some higher power directing people when they do things like this. Tell me that's not true. I swear, that's the first time I've ever done that. Like, got through that unhurt. As I said, I've been playing this game almost literally since it came out in 1990. But literally the second time I do it after being on camera, I do it flawlessly. Oh my gosh. Tell me there's not a higher power. As far as a higher power goes, look, I really don't like labels in situations like this. I know labels bring people a lot of comfort. You know, people don't want to think about people or things. They just want to instantly know. They want to be prejudiced. Man, that's difficult. I really could have used the jet right here. But people don't want to formulate their own opinions. They want to have pre-established opinions based on labels. You know, it's like social awkwardness, but commonly accepted social awkwardness. It's like these people don't know how to handle certain things, so they rehearse them in their mind, like at home. It's like, oh, here's my pre-established opinion on, I don't know, gay marriage, and here's my previously established opinion on juggalos, or here's my previously established opinion on Nintendo. It's like people just want to have this stuff laid out in front of them already. Notice that when I am talking and get distracted, I handle this situations like this much better. But you know, people just, I don't know what else to say about it. So I just had a blonde moment and totally forgot what I was talking about. So we'll move on. So glad to be done with this level. I wasn't even scared. Well, we had 2.5 minutes left, so I'm going ahead and stop here and restart. Okay, restarting. I also need to restart the timer. We'll see about going any further than this after the timer is done. Okay, Sparkman beats Magnet Man, I believe. Oh, that's right. Hard Man beats Top Man. So yes, Sparkman beats Magnet Man. You know, for the longest time, I thought that Magnet Man was usually the character that I started on. It was just my comfort zone. It worked for me, so I never questioned it. But one thing that's cool about Mega Man that I've come to accept in my adult years is the versatility that you can play it in. And you know, depending on how you play it, every experience is different. But if you stay in your comfort zone and you always tackle the Robot Masters in the same order, it's not going to be a different experience every time. You know, the magic is gone. Also notice how, you know, this is just how I've always played it, but I never notice how hardcore it is to always use the pea shooter whenever you're going through it, because other people will use, I've watched Let's Play videos, I've watched, you know, videos of people playing Mega Man 3 online, and or any of the Mega Mans really, and they always take advantage of their weapons, and I usually don't. And it's not some kind of machismo statement, although when it comes to Mega Man 3 and to a lesser extent Mega Man 2, I'm certainly capable of making that machismo statement, because I am kind of a beast at these games, you know, from time to time. It's just playing with the pea shooter is just the way I've always done it. It's the way I learned, and you know, it's like you learn how to drive with a stick shift, and that becomes your comfort zone. Just, you know, it feels weird to drive an automatic, which is technically better, or easier, I should say. And when you learn how to play with the pea shooter exclusively, that becomes your comfort zone. On a side note, you know, I noticed that not everyone calls it the pea shooter. Like on Cinemassacre, Mike Matei calls it Person. And I mean, I can kind of understand where he's coming from with that, because it's like this is regular Mega Man before he's upgraded, but he's the only person I've ever heard call it person. Maybe it could just be a regional dialect thing. Like, they also said that everybody called the Nintendo cartridges tapes back then, and I'd never heard anyone do that either. So my wife just sent me a text, kind of upsetting. Not about her, just that I just got the text that Wes Craven died. I don't know when that was. Let me finish what I was saying though. I can see where Mike could come across calling it person, but to me that's just, I've never heard that before. I have heard many people call it, pea shooter though. And they also called, apparently it was common for NES cartridges to be called tapes back then, and I don't think I ever heard anyone call them that when I was a kid. So it might just be a regional dialect thing. Like maybe people around where Mike lived, which I believe was Philadelphia. I don't know. But maybe people who lived around Philadelphia called Mega Man person. That's just kind of how speech works. It's a localized thing. You talk like the people around you, whether intentional or unintentional, it eventually happens. You'll take on just the smallest mannerisms at least that you never knew you had. Yeah, magnet's a good thing to have right there. Yeah. Not a sustainable method though. So, I mean, to each his own. Who knows? Maybe it's something that I'm going to eventually adapt as part of my speech vernacular as well. I mean, it's already happening. No longer are people just talking like the people around them, but thanks to the internet and through social media, people are talking like people from all over the world. Sometimes it's as simple as hearing a manner of speech. Hearing a matter of speech and just adapting it as part of your own because you think, hey, that sounds cool. And then other times it's just something that happens like in the background. I spoke about this a few weeks ago on one of my videos while I was playing Mario Kart about how I got some of my speech mannerisms totally unintentional. Like maybe when I was a teenager or early adult, I was doing these speech mannerisms like on purpose. Oh, there was something I wanted to point out about this spot. I remember watching Pat the NES Punk play this level and just thinking, he's getting really frustrated because he thinks that it's like impossible to get through the level without getting hurt. And it's not true. It's just a matter of knowing what to do and when to do it. Like with this monkey, all you have to do... Bad example, but you let him jump over you and down the chute. So Wes Craven, what can I say? Honestly, I mean, I was never a big fan of the majority of his work. I love Nightmare on Elm Street. It's one of my favorite horror movies. The original, not the sequels. Sequels are okay. They're nostalgic. When viewed objectively, most of them are not that great. But the original Nightmare on Elm Street, oh my god, that is so... It's so decidedly 80s without being cheesy, and it's just crazy enough to work, and it's, you know, it presented a legitimately terrifying concept. It's like, what if, you know, what if you were never truly safe from homicide? What if you could still be killed in your dreams? And, you know, it's such a simple concept, but Wes Craven made it work, man. I mean, he pulled it off. You know, Freddy Krueger is forever a part of American pop culture now, and horror pop culture all around the world. I can only hope to one day have that kind of an effect with something that I put out into the universe. Wes Craven, though, I mean, he pulled it off, and he pulled it off numerous times. You know, his style wasn't necessarily mine, but he owned it. He made it happen. And the world is worse off without him. Here's to you, Wes Craven. I'm going to dedicate this ass kicking to Wes Craven. Wish I would have saved my magnets now. I got this. Say die, motherfucker, die. Die, motherfucker, die, motherfucker, die. Die, motherfucker, die. Die, motherfucker, die, motherfucker, die. Here's to you, Wes. Beat by Snake Man. Okay, so it's time to do Snake Man. I forget which item to use on Snake Man. I've always defaulted to the pea shooter, and the very first time I played this game, I started with Snake Man. I don't remember how I got this game. All I remember is that I played it at Walmart, which is how us children of the 90s and 80s experienced NES games for the first time, was we played it on the display, and, you know, it worked. And I don't know why Nintendo doesn't advertise that way anymore, because it is the most effective way to advertise a video game, is to just let the public play it for free. I mean, every amazing Nintendo title that I can remember off the top of my head happened because people played it for free. Or they played it for free either at the store or at someone else's house. Because that's what happened with Super Mario Brothers. Super Mario Brothers was nothing less than a phenomenon, and I don't know how it took off in the New York area, which is kind of it's ground zero for Nintendo's life in the United States. But after it left New York, I mean, people were either playing it inside of Toys R Us, or they were playing it at their best friend's house, and they're like, I got to have one of those. I mean, even my dad, who has never played video games since, and never played video games before that, went out and bought himself an NES. You know, the same thing happened with the Wii. Like, elderly people were going out and buying the Wii. You know, people who didn't know the first thing about something like Mega Man or Resident Evil. They only knew that Super Mario had a mustache and jumped on things. People like that were going out and buying the Wii. And it was because they played it for free somewhere. And then the media latched onto it and started saying, hey, the Nintendo Wii can actually make you healthier. It can be life-changing for elderly patients and life-changing for elderly citizens in nursing homes. It'll help them rehabilitate. I mean, and that's when it really took off after that. But it was already, the Wii was already a winning system at that point. You know, these things don't happen because of specifications. They don't happen because of third-party developers. They don't happen for any other reason except you hit a home run and you put that home run into the hands of the customers, into the hands of the masses, and you let it do its thing. That's how you have a successful console. It's what worked for the NES. It's what made it successful for years after it was launched. Nowadays consoles have what? 4 to 6 years? How long did the Nintendo have? It had 6 to 8, I believe. I don't remember exactly what year it came out, but it was in the first half of the 80s. And it wasn't done until like 92. I mean, that, come to think of it, it's close to a decade. So it was at least 8 years that the NES had a relevant standing in the marketplace. And Nintendo's missteps, because the Super Nintendo continued to be a success. I mean, a 16-bit era, forget it, man. You know, people are still arguing over who won the 16-bit wars. And I mean, that's saying something. It's pretty clear that Nintendo won in the grand scheme of things because Sonic was appearing on a Nintendo game and not vice versa. So Nintendo won in the grand scheme of things, but the Super Nintendo and the Genesis, neck and neck. Still. And it was because people could play it for free. They had it set up in the stores. And slowly after that, I remember the last system you could really play in the stores, for the most part, was the N64. And the N64 started off strong, but by the end of the shelf life of N64, people just weren't really playing it anymore. Or they weren't getting a chance to play with it in the stores anymore. I don't ever remember, well, I rarely remember playing a GameCube game in the stores. And I don't remember playing any of the last generation N64 games in stores. And that is when Nintendo fell off. I don't know whose side of the equation the fault lies, whether it was Nintendo for not wanting to let people experience their games, or whether it's the stores for not wanting to devote the space for it. Either way, it was a huge mistake on whoever decided to stop doing that. That is what made the previous Nintendo system successful. I love the music on Gemini Man stage. I actually plan on recording a song with this as the beat. I've already got everything laid out. I just need to get in there and write it and record it. But I got the beat going and everything. I don't know why I picked Gemini Man out of all of the memorable tracks on this game. It's probably not even my favorite, but something just speaks to me about it. you can actually jump through there if you're skilled enough. It screws the level ups. So I don't like doing it, but every once in a while I'm feeling frisky and I'll jump in there. So we'll stop and we'll go just a little longer. Alright, we're back. Crank the video up this way. So, as of recording this, I do the show a few weeks in advance. There's a reason why it's done that way. Technical reasons, I don't want to get into it, but it's certainly not out of laziness. It's just, it works better to record these shows a little bit in advance than to, unless that's purposely what you're going for. For me, it doesn't work that way. I gotta have a little bit of buffer space. It's just the way my brain works. Like, sometimes it takes me more than an hour or a day or two to switch between mindsets. Like, today I'm in production mindset, but maybe tomorrow I need to be in post-production mindset. And it's not always that easy. And maybe I need to be in pre-production mindset. It's not as easy as it seems to just switch between the two. So, today, the first episode of Gossip and Games went live. Right before I started recording this. So, this is Mega Man 3. It's the third game that I've done. So, at this point, I'm approaching three games in advance, and how many episodes that is really depends on the quality of my conversation that I'm having with you guys, the camera, the YouTube audience, the world, the universe. It depends on just how well I can put these things together and how many of them I can put together. So each game, it could be as many as like 10 or 15 episodes, or it could be as few as one. So that's another reason why I like to work in advance, is because I don't know how many episodes are going to be yielded from each session when I sit down. So I don't want to wait until the last minute. And then, worst case scenario, one of these sessions comes and goes, and I don't have any usable footage. Or I only have like one usable video out of there. So say I decide, okay, the next chance I get, I gotta record again. And maybe 2 or 3 days passes, and I only get 1 or 2 days worth of material out of the next session. So by working in advance, it allows me to work from a place of passion as opposed to a place of necessity. I mean, you could argue that I don't necessarily need to put episodes out there every weekday, but I would argue that is what the inspiration was. The inspiration was for it to be a daily daily web show. And I don't have all the answers. I don't know where this is going. It could go nowhere, or it could become the next big thing, but first it might undergo several changes. I mean, I want the premise to stay the same. I'm sitting here talking to everybody off the cuff and playing video games, preferably retro games, preferably Nintendo games, while I'm doing it. This is the kind of thing that I live for. I've always, video games have often been in the backgrounds of my life while having all kinds of interesting conversations. Me and my friends, we used to talk about whatever. We could multitask. We could play and talk at the same time. Unless it was like a game you never played before and you really want to pay attention. But, a game like this, you're just kind of playing, out of habit. And I don't want to make it sound bad because I love this game. But, if you don't need to devote your entire, internal resources to paying attention, then you don't have to. If that makes sense. I'm gonna have to stop here shortly. Okay. So I really would have liked to have ended with Needleman, but I'm afraid I'm going to have to stop it there. Because I got to get some chores done. But it's been a pleasure. Always love Mega Man 3. I think it's been a good session. So until next time, peace everyone.